Sure. I think. Oh, there it is. I was about to say, I was like, Jonathan, I hope you are recording. Ready. So yeah, Scott, thank you for moderating, and Jonathan, thank you for inviting me tonight. My name is Summer. I've been doing software development for close to 13 years now. I started programming honestly when I was about 14 years old. I actually got started. Oh, I'm going to pull it out. I always pull this out. If anyone's ever seen me talk before, you know what I'm about to do. So hopefully the camera will show it. I have a little Neopet here, and he hangs out on my desk, and I love him because that's what got me into programming nearly 15 years ago, dealing with learning HTML, CSS, a little bit of JavaScript. I've been hooked since. I've always liked video games. I've always liked technology. So it was just an easy transition for me to get into software development as a career. Oh, what else can I say? Currently, I'm in React and TypeScript. I am now a self-employed consultant. So I have my own LLC and I contract out through that. Definitely happy to be here. Can answer any question of how do I get in? Where do I start? What language? I can offer you help about resume details, who to talk to, how to act, how to survive the interview process at all, because it is a mess. I'm a very candid, transparent person. I want everyone to succeed. And if you love code, I will do everything I can to help you. And that's how Jonathan and I met, was just, I think I shared something from him like a year ago. Jonathan, you can correct me. And we've just had a very natural friendship form over LinkedIn. And that's why I'm here tonight. So yeah, I'm very happy to be here. And again, thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you. Our next person, Joe Warren, if you'd mind giving us a little bit of information about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is awesome because this is where my journey really started, with Free Code Camp Dallas, which I'll get into. But for me, I'm a career changer. I got my degree in business administration with a minor in music, but things kind of changed when this game came out. You talk about game summer. So Watch Dogs, this is a game that's similar to GTA. It's about hacking. So that really opened up my brain to, is this stuff really possible? So I just started Googling, and every time I looked up something about hacking, it led to programming. I'm like, no, I don't want to program. I want to hack. I want to do all of that stuff. So I just kept going, and eventually led to a Python course on Code Academy. So I started going through that. This is in 2013, but I didn't know anybody that was working on this at the time. So when I got stuck, I was just like, well, I guess that's not for me. I'll just keep doing what I was doing. So a few years later, when Watch Dogs 2 came out, and it just all happened again, I'm like, okay, I've got to learn how to do this. So I was like, I'm going to do it differently this time. I'm going to hop on Meetup, hop on Eventbrite, RSVP to any coding event that I see. This is December 2016. And this is where I found our Free Code Camp Dallas meetup. And at the time, Austin was one of the main people that was teaching there. So it's great having you on the call because you saw my journey from the beginning. So that's where things just, really took off for me. So a combination of self-teaching plus online courses, plus free code camp, which eventually led to me deciding to go to a boot camp, which was great. It was very intense, and I could talk more about that if anybody has questions, but that really prepared me for the internship that I landed after that. And then for my role now at USAA. So just a little bit about how I transitioned into this.
Thanks, Joe. And then our third person is Nathan Lewis, if you'd mind giving a little bit info about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Hey, everybody. So I'm also a career changer. I know many of you, actually. There's like a lot of former band directors in the group, and that was me. So I was a public school music educator for 14 years. And last year was my final year of teaching as a music educator. And I made the switch to become a software developer. And so that, similar story, I've always been interested in computer programming and all that. Like I remember as like a sub 10-year-old, like I was learning to program BASIC on my grandpa's TI 99 4A. So like it's always been something that I've dabbled with and just been interested with. And so it came time for a change for me in my career. And I started looking into boot camps and ended up doing Flatiron boot camp. it was a asynchronous course, which worked great for me as I was still working full time. I needed to do everything, in the 5 to midnight time frame every night, and knocked it out in about 5 months, and was able to, through the help of a recruiter and my connections with people in the field in the areas, I was able to like make a connection and land a job in May, and I've been working at my first job since May, and it's been great. I have only good things to say about the switch.
Nice. Thanks, man. So we have our questions that we're going to start with these ones that a couple of people responded on the Discord to the link that was set up for a Google poll. And the first question that we got was, what is the best way to set yourself apart from other candidates entering the tech field? And so maybe if we start out, we're going to kind of check the pacing while we go through and ask each of y'all to kind of give your thoughts on that. And I'm going to kind of ramble on just a minute for each of y'all, kind of formulate your thoughts. And we can try that out for a little bit. And if we feel like the pacing is maybe a little bit too slow, maybe we'll go down to just doing it like one question per panel member. But for right now, we can try each of y'all getting a chance to answer these questions. So Nathan, since you're the most recent to talk, if you could maybe give your perspective on what is the best way to set yourself apart from other candidates entering the field.
Yeah, so I've had the opportunity to help my company out with a little bit of their hiring. So like I'm starting to see it on the other side of it as well. So hopefully like this will help you. I think something that's really big that you can do is just do what you're doing right now. Like you got to get out into these meetups and meet people and make connections with people, because I think that just like any other industry, like the connections that you make, they have a huge impact on your reach as far as like what you can have access to in the job fields, and also like you're coming here and you're going to hear about lots of jobs, like you already heard about it already, right? And if you weren't at a meetup, you wouldn't probably hear about those jobs. So like I think that's honestly like one of the most important things, is just get out there and connect with people. You don't have to connect with people that are necessarily like on par with you. Like I think some of my most valuable connections have been people that are like far surpassed me in their abilities, and like they have the connections, and they can funnel stuff towards you.
Awesome. Summer, same question. In your opinion, what would be the best way to set yourself apart from other people trying to enter the field?
Yeah, I know that Nathan mentioned coming to meetups. That's huge. It's kind of two things. It's one, you do need a GitHub and or portfolio website that you will be submitting for job applications, because for me, especially because I have done interviews multiple times, I will go through GitHubs. I will see what you're doing. I know it's changing. It used to be that I would have a stack of maybe 10 resumes, 20 resumes, and only 1 or 2 of them would have GitHubs or portfolio websites. Those immediately float to the top. Like those are the people I'm going to look through and I'm going to consider, because when you have a stack of resumes, you need something to like punch through that. Yeah, I can do this, but I need just a little bit more, right? So besides a GitHub and a good portfolio website, which I can rant about forever about that, just a genuine human interest and endearment to code, a passion for code, caring about learning more and getting better, and really just geeking out and nerding out about it. Like being able to talk to a React developer and start geeking out about context API or Redux. It's just some tech stack stuff, but a genuine interest in cheer for coding, I think is really, I'm absolutely going to want to talk to you and interview you. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And then Jim, same question.
Yeah, my answer is identical to both of you guys, so I'll keep it quick. So yeah, one is community and networking, and the other side is visibility. Yeah. So what I'll briefly say about both of those is, yeah, with community, that's where you're going to find so many opportunities, whether it's opportunities to be mentored, opportunities for somebody to help you on your project, or
Yep.
an open source project that somebody knows about they can share with you. Opportunities to lead a meetup that's really going to help with your reach. And then obviously opportunities for a job. And just to know if what you're learning is actually relevant and what people are actually using on the job. So all of that comes from networking and community. And then with visibility, just finding ways to really set yourself apart and making yourself easy to find. So Summer was talking about your GitHub, your portfolio, having that on your LinkedIn, you know, having all of your information easy to find. Because when we do interviews, I do the same thing, Summer. I don't stop at the resume. I want to see, do you have a blog? Do you have a LinkedIn? Do you have GitHub? So I can actually see what you've been up to. So all of that is important, and seeing what other people are doing, maybe trying to take it a step further with writing articles or doing videos. That's something that I started doing at boot camp because I wanted to separate myself from everybody else. So finding ways to raise your visibility.
Thanks, Joe. While I have you, why don't you be the first person to answer this question? And is it incredibly difficult to break into tech as a boot camp graduate?
So this is a great question because, you know, I'm sure most of you have experienced some form of imposter syndrome. And that may be one of the things that you feel as a boot camp grad of, hey, I'm not a CS grad. But I'll tell you that you actually have an advantage, especially if you're going for a front-end position as a boot camp graduate, because you're being taught the latest in web development, and it's going to be able to help you directly on your job. Even things like working with Git and GitHub that some CS grads actually have never worked with. So for myself, the person that hired me, who's actually my manager now, he told me specifically out of everybody that they interviewed, I had the least amount of experience, but I had the most relevant experience. And that was directly from what I learned on my boot camp. So just keep that in mind, that you do have an advantage if you go through a boot camp. And they know that you're a hard worker because you can't just snooze your way through a boot camp and be successful.
Thank you. And then Nathan, same question.
Yeah, I think that, like, if you're doing a boot camp, like, I'm thinking about my cohort whenever I was going through at Flatiron. Everyone that was in that cohort was changing careers, and I think that the biggest thing that you can do is like leverage the experience that you had from before you were becoming a developer. I knew that as a teacher, I had developed people skills and like all sorts of soft skills that I could like use to my advantage, that somebody that maybe is coming straight out of college with a CS degree, they may not have those things. So I tried to leverage like any sort of advantage that I already had based on my previous experiences, and, you know, use that going forward. And I think that, like I said, I don't know many boot camp graduates that like were not doing some sort of switch, right? So like you have something that you can leverage, like use it to your advantage.
Thanks. And then Summer, same thing. Is it incredibly difficult to break into the tech career field as a boot camp graduate?
Yeah, I will say yes, especially if you are junior. Taking us back here, I did go to college and didn't do a boot camp. So I do have to offer kind of this opposition, but you'll be surprised what I say. So let me start at the beginning. It is very hard to break in, yes, because from company standpoints, it's everyone may have 4 to 5 to 8 months of something, but they may want more. When you have a stack of 200 or 300 resumes in your ATS, it stands for applicant tracking system, I believe, it is very easy to say, I only want people with a year or two of experience, which is going to knock you out. Or I only want people with a college degree, so it's going to knock you out. Or they're going to pick something that absolutely is you're going to get blocked, and you'll find, you know, it's happening to you because you'll be submitting your resume to dozens of places and you won't even hear back. And it's not a system. There's no trick to get past that. It is someone on the other end does not know you, does not know your name, does not know what you can do. They just see you as a line of data in their system, and they go, you're a boot camp. I don't have time for you because I don't want to train. I need someone who really understands. Let me bring a comp sci in here. It has already been said, though, that you can graduate with a degree of computer science and not know what you're doing, right? When I graduated college, I had a an LLC that I was running 2 years on the side. And I also had an internship with the government. So I was able to go, yeah, I know databases. Yeah, I know PHP. Yeah, I know JavaScript, because it wasn't just my college degree that I was trying to get. I had all of this relevant real work experience that helped me break into the industry. And that's how I did it. So yes, it absolutely is difficult. And the way around that is to stop doing the easy apply stuff, come to meetings like this, talk to people like these people who have jobs, like, yeah, we'll take junior. That's fine. Yeah, we'll take boot camp. Do you have a GitHub? Do you have a portfolio? Do you care? Are you friendly to work with? You'll get hired that way. It is hard, but it can happen. And I've seen it time and time again. Just expect a lot of bumps, because there is this wall. I'm not going to lie about that.
Hey, I'll chime in like too. I think that personally, the reason that I got the job that I got is because I met somebody and they gave a good review. Like I think that's how I got past the system. For like to be honest, like yeah. So I mean that's totally true. Like connect with people, make those connections. It's super important.
No, Nathan, I completely understand that. I help run a nonprofit for game development, and I've hired people and gotten hired myself, like not even knowing that they needed me right then and there, or not even knowing that oh yeah, my job is hiring. Do you know Java or C#? And then suddenly they're interviewing the next day, right? It's like, no, I know you're a nice person. Like I even had a friend through the nonprofit like 2 days ago. Hey, is this person nice? And I'm like, yes, he is amazing. I love him. Hire him immediately. Like, because I know him, and that's how you completely bypass that, the HR, the applicant tracking system. Like it is, you have a developer or someone on the company side fighting for you. And so you just shortcut that entire you shortcut that wall. Absolutely. That's how you do it.
Yeah, great stuff for sure. So let's maybe pivot to this question. Why did you decide to become a software engineer? So Summer, if you could start us off this time, please.
I'm a dork. Okay. But that's the fun answer. Like I'm a dork. I like solving problems. The professional answer I would give is I have a unique gift where you can come up to me and describe a problem you're having, and I can write a software. Maybe it's just a simple window. Maybe you need a website, but I can translate your business needs into working software. And I genuinely enjoy helping people. I've taken multiple personality tests in my years, and I have a helper aspect in my personality where I want to help. I want to be useful. And it genuinely brings me joy when I give someone software, and I had one instance where someone was spending 6 hours every day. The poor guy had to wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning and manually run these ancient processes. And I got it down to a button click in 12 seconds, like just completely just changed his entire career. Cause it was like, instead of having to wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning, 4 or 5 in the morning, just, it's like, yeah, just hit a button and it'll just do everything for you. Like, because it was just some Excel sheets he needed translated, really easy stuff in C#. Like, just do it. Yeah.
Nice. Nathan, if you could answer next for us.
Yeah. Things, but so I man, there were so many like small experiences. Like I told you, like I already like I messed around with BASIC like back in the day. Like so, like it's always been something I messed with. Like I remember in the 2000s, like I was playing World of Warcraft and you needed to like program some macros, and I was doing that stuff. Like, and it was programming. I just didn't, I didn't call it that. I thought I was playing a game, right? And like right now, like one of my biggest hobbies is board games. And if you know anything about modern board games, like you have to read treatises to like play some of these games. And that is fun to me. Like, I love it. Like, I want to read all the rules and like understand how the systems work so that I can like figure out the tricks through the systems. Like that stuff's super interesting to me. Figuring out puzzles, like that's my jam. And I mean, like even as a teacher, like 2 years before I made the switch, I remember like we needed to run attendance for our 180 person band. And we need like the school for some reason needed it to be run at like they needed to be run at 7 o'clock exactly. We couldn't do it because we had rehearsal outside. So me and my buddy were like, let's figure out a way that we can program our computers to like do this on its own and submit it at 7 o'clock. So we figured out how to do it so that we could just do what we were having to do to like check a box, right? But I mean, like, it's just little stuff like that, trying to, and then that translated into, you know, me messing around with free code camp, and then also doing boot camp, and just doing all the free resources online. You're finding like any of the videos series or anything on YouTube, like just digging in, and then like thinking, yeah, I could do this. This is fun. I enjoy this.
Thanks. And then Joe.
Yeah, I kind of shared how I got into it in my intro. I was just trying to see if you could really control street lights and cameras from your phone based off of the game Watch Dogs. So yeah, that led me to the Free Code Camp meetup. And once I actually saw what code was, I was just like you guys have been keeping this for me my whole life. It was like, I can't believe this is a thing. And I just fell in love. Like, I couldn't stop. I was hooked, and I just wanted to learn more and more. And then especially finding out you can make good money in this field, it was like, oh, this is a wrap. Like, there's nothing else that I want to do. And then kind of how you guys were talking, over time, I started to learn just how this is a tool to actually be able to solve problems, whether it's for a job or something in my everyday life. So there are a couple of small applications that I built just to make something easier for myself. So it seemed like a super important tool to have in modern times. I love it. And yeah, I couldn't imagine doing anything else right now.
Awesome.
Yeah, let me hop in here for a second. I'm gonna put I got a Slido set up for this, so I'm gonna put it in the chat. You go to slido.com and you put the little code in, and then you can ask anonymous questions. Like, if you didn't get to put them on the original document, you can throw them in there. And then we'll have some time in a little while where we can ask live questions. But if you're just like, I want to ask anonymously, or I want to ask now before I forget, you can write them in there. So I'm going to put it in the chat. And then you can direct chat me on here if you have a question about how to use it.
Thanks, man. So Joe, how did you decide what projects to put on your portfolio?
Yeah, so this was tough early on because as you're learning, you're like, is this something that is going to help me or hurt me with where I am currently? So for me, my portfolio, I felt confident building out once I went through boot camp, because I had a pretty good personal project as well as team group project, which showed what I could do with, of course, HTML, CSS, with Material UI, which I use for design, as well as React, Redux. I felt like these were two strong projects that I can show. And then the third project was something that was like a code along, which I ended up changing out with something new that I built once I had it at a place where I was proud of. But yeah, I feel like the Free Code Camp projects are good, but so many other people have the same ones that I didn't want to just have the same thing that everybody else had on my portfolio. So keep that in mind when you're going to put something on there.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Summer, same question. What projects did you decide to put on, or how would you decide which program projects to put on your portfolio?
Yeah. So I have both a website and a GitHub. My GitHub is very green because my answer to what I put on GitHub is everything. Either you can't have private repos. So a lot of stuff I do keep private, but a lot of stuff I do keep public. And it literally, if I am doing a hacker rank question or a Code Wars question, which are like these little websites that ask Code Katas, that's what they are, where they're like, hey, can you solve this question? Maybe spend 20 minutes trying to solve it. And you have to kind of tease your brain, stretch your brain to solve something in some language if you're choosing. So my first part of my answer is I put everything on my GitHub that I possibly can. Like, I absolutely flood it. Definitely means that there's going to be a lot of mess. There's going to be a lot of unfinished stuff. But what you do is, one, I will absolutely answer that, yes, I do have a mess, but I do have a lot of green squares. And at least now how GitHub is structured, the first thing that you see when you look at someone's GitHub is how active they are on it, i.e. how many green squares do they have. That is absolutely the first thing they're going to look at. And by that point, they're not going to care what it is, almost, only that it's like, oh, wow, this person's super active. Now, On the flip side, just as a caveat, you absolutely can fake it. I know how to fake it myself. Like anyone, it's not hard to fake. You can actually buy a service and you can fake the green squares. So that's when you start doing the digging. So the follow-up to try and balance out my approach is that I have a pinned repo that is my website. It looks very basic, but all of the code is open and shared. And you'll see a lot of enterprise goodies in there, which is like, yeah, there's React, but there's also TypeScript and there's ESLint and there's Prettier and there's this, and this that I absolutely can help teach and install on any workplace. And there's also a Redux store in it, if I didn't mention that. And I've brought it up several times in my interviews. I'm like, yeah, there's my Redux store. It's really dumb, but I know how it works, right? I can demonstrate it working. So the long and short of it is I throw everything on the wall, and then I have one pinned repo that is very enterprise. Like you can look at it. It's very, mostly for the most part, clean code. And is definitely a good talking point for any interview that I get into.
Thanks. And then same thing to Nathan. He's the most recent switch of the three, so he should be still pretty fresh on that.
Yeah, so I ended up, for my portfolio, I have 5 projects that I listed as part of the Flatiron Bootcamp. Everybody that graduates has 5 portfolio projects, and if there's an option, like make sure that they're your portfolio, like they're your projects and not group projects, because like for instance, like we were doing some interviews about a month ago at the company, and we got several candidates that came through and they had submitted like stuff on their portfolio that was group projects. And even with them saying like, I did the front end, it's like, yeah, but how much of this is actually yours? Like, so if it comes to that, like make sure that they're your projects, because I think that speaks a lot for you as a candidate for these jobs. But so like my 5 projects were, the first one at Flatiron, we did Ruby for our programming language, Ruby, and we did Rails, and then JavaScript and React for the second half of it. So the first one I did was a Ruby command line interface, just scraping websites and building a database out of it. And it's super, it's simple, and it's something that you can download and use it in your command line like right now. It works. So that's something that I built. I had built out a simple like Rails application that was front and back end. I built out a simple JavaScript single page application, and then a more complex Rails project, and then my final one was a React and JavaScript Node backend project, and that's what I had. So I think the biggest thing for me was that like there was a diversity in what I was presenting, and so I think that it was apparent that I felt comfortable working. If you're looking for a full stack job, then have stuff on your GitHub portfolio that showcases your skills with both sides of it. And like Summer said, like put everything on GitHub. Like I did like the advent of coding thing was this past month, and I made it through a couple of weeks of it before it was like, and so, but I put it all on GitHub. Like it's all there. Like if you want to go back and look at it, it's there. And that's something that your future job is going to be looking at. Like they're going to want to look and see what your output is. One of the nice things that you can do too is this is like side related to portfolio, but like find open source projects and contribute to open source. I'm lucky enough to work at a company where our main work is open source. So my daily work is on my GitHub. And so I know that any future employer can go back and see like a wealth of work, and they will know like exactly like what it's like. If you have Nathan Lewis on your team, like they're going to know. So like there's no question to it. And I think that's a big win whenever it comes to like finding that job. If they can see what it looks like to work with you, like that's, I don't know, that's just another thing in your favor.
Yeah, definitely. All great answers, of course.
And
I'll piggyback off of one thing.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no problem. Just really quickly, on the point about having the group project on there, I think that's a good point if it's code that you don't understand, but also understanding that you're going to be working with a lot of other people on your job as a team, and you're not going to work on every single part of the code. So my suggestion with that is, if you do include a group project, be able to have an understanding of the parts that you didn't work on, so you can explain it if this is something that you're presenting that as your work, because you don't want to be asked about it and you're like, I have no idea, I didn't work on that part.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like I thought about that too when I was like preparing for this. Like, if there's a part of a code that's a group project that's like that you just like don't understand it, or maybe it's like you did a code along, like you found something on the internet and it was like, put this in your code and it'll hook up your routing. Like, if you don't understand how it works, you should either figure out how it works, or rewrite it so you do understand it, so that like Joe said, like when you're asked about it, like you don't want to be going how does it work, I don't know. So like gotta figure that stuff out.
I was gonna do a really quick plug because Nathan was talking about open source, but if you're in the Discord, we are planning on basically rebuilding our Free Code Camp Dallas website from the ground up, because it's like right now it's just kind of like a picture of a website with a bunch of links that lead other places. And so we're going to rebuild it from scratch to include our cohort information, and like, you know, a place where we can store different resources and stuff. So we're going to build it from scratch at some point. But hopefully within the next month, we'll start that project. So it's a really good place to get started. You could put it on your resume, like I contributed to the Free Code Camp open source website or whatever. So anyway.
Hey, Jonathan, on Slido, did you already explain that even if they don't have a question, that they could go on here and look at other people's questions and like vote for the question that they feel like is most relevant or would help them out?
No, I mean, but you just told them. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
you can go in there and just upvote people's questions if you're interested in one, or if you're not, then don't, you know, whatever.
Oh, and just like that, a couple of questions got voted. Nice. What was going to be a good segue until we had a couple of interjections. Nathan started talking about different languages, and the next question was actually about that. And so I'm going to go back to Nathan and ask him, what programming languages do you prefer?
Ooh, do I prefer? I mean, I really like React, but like back it up, like it's really JavaScript. Like I really like JavaScript, and so we do a lot of Node JavaScript at my job, and so for our backend, it's basically all Node. Most of my side projects use a lot of Node, but yeah, vanilla JavaScript, it's cool. And you know what? Like the first real programming language I learned at boot camp was Ruby. So I'm obviously like partial to it. It's like very it's very semantic. Like I don't know, it's nice. It's nice to use, it's easy to use. I've started using a little bit of Python at work, which I'm enjoying. But I mean, like it's JavaScript, man. I think that's my jam.
Nice. And then Summer, same question. What languages do you prefer?
Oh, I really like functional React components in TypeScript with hooks. It's beautiful. It is beautiful. It's a work of art. It is 80 lines and it's just, you have a little component and you can just reuse it. And it'll like, if you need to talk to Redux or context API, it's just one line and it's just, you know exactly what you're getting. There's no confusion, no runtime errors. It just works. I love it.
Great stuff for sure. Joe, same thing.
Yeah, that's a beautiful answer, Summer. Pretty similar. And I've worked primarily in React the last few years, but there are some opportunities in native. So I'm just now getting into Swift. So that could be something that maybe a couple months from now, I can let you guys know if I'm enjoying that. So we'll see.
Definitely. Well, I think we can go ahead and look into some of these questions that people have put on Slido. The top one, well, I say the top one, there's a couple of these that have some upvotes. The first one that I see is coding boot camp the same as taking free coding online classes? What is a boot camp that everyone keeps referring to? So Joe, you can answer that for us.
Yeah, so a boot camp, think of it as like the in-between of self-learning and of going back to school almost. It's an actual, like a school, a program that you, well, at least before the pandemic, I went to in person, and I lived on campus. They had a place for us to stay, and from 9 to 5, we were being taught. You know, we had different lessons every day. We had an instructor, we had mentors, so we'll be taught throughout the morning. Then in the afternoon, we'll be in the hackerspace working on our afternoon projects, and then doing our prep for the next day. So basically, depending on the kind of boot camp you go to, what your focus is, they'll take you through all of front end, all of back end if it's full stack. So yeah, it's a place to where, for me, I was looking for that next level of teaching and discipline because I felt like I plateaued. So boot camp was like what I really thought would be a good option for me. It's usually about 12, 13 weeks, depending on the place. So yeah, if you wanted specific names, like we could let you know some of the boot camps that we know about or that we've gone to.
Yeah, I think based off of that answer, the other two probably don't need to add too much to it. We may go on to maybe like one question per panel member, just so we can try to get through all these ones that people asked on the Slido. Summer, would you mind telling us how do you approach end of year reviews / asking for a raise? For more money always feels weird.
It always does feel weird. I did 10 years of full-time, and a lot of times it was just baked in and you were lucky to get anything that you wanted. Which is just it's just kind of it's always weird. It's always awkward. Now that I am employed, meaning that I go to a client and I will be here for 6 months or 3 months or 9 months. And I go, and here's my rate. Right. And there's like, that's it. Like, it's either yes or no. And if they say no, then I will go somewhere else, and that's fine. Right. Obviously, I have to do the interview process. But at the end of that 6 or 9 months, I can choose to go, do I want to stay? And if I stay, do I want to keep the same rate or do I want to raise it? Right. And you definitely need to talk to your friends. You need to look at, there's a website called like salary.io. I know blind team is also a good place to look for salaries, but you do have to be kind of careful what you ask for, because like, it's almost, how do I put this? The winners, i.e. the people who are working for like the top 5 or 6 companies, are posting these absolute insane salaries, and that is not what we're all getting. Right. So you have to be kind of careful and kind of cognizant. It's like, okay, do I have a low cost of living? Do I live in California? I do know that remote has changed the landscape, where it is, if you don't pay me well, I'm just going to go to your competition. Like, sorry, not sorry. Like, that's how you lose good talent. And there are a lot of companies realizing it's like, if I pull in to the conversation that, oh, where you live matters, and another company doesn't care if you live in, say, Oklahoma City, which has like a low cost of living, right? Or somewhere in the sticks with good internet. Like, that's you lose talent, is by trying to pick and choose, right? But yeah, it is a very awkward process. What I would say, trying to end cap this, kind of giving a long kind of rambling answer there. Every 6 to 9 months, ask yourself if it is time for a raise. And the answer is yes, it's time for a raise. If you know you're doing a bang up job, if you are solving problems, if you are bringing value to the table every day, you need to ask for a raise. And if they won't give it to you, go somewhere else, because the tech market is on fire. It is the instant. And I know I said earlier, it's hard for juniors and entry folks to get in, but once you're mid and senior and you kind of have a head half on straight, and you know how to like write code and lead projects, oh, sky's the limit. Absolutely. There are people out there that absolutely want you. So yeah, don't settle for less. Like, go jump. Absolutely go jump. The market's on fire.
Yeah, these are definitely great questions from y'all. That's a good one to have answered. Nathan, if you could answer for us, you feel like it's okay to showcase projects on your portfolio that you've coded along with a tutorial from online resources?
I'm gonna guess that like this is like featured on like your maybe like on your resume or on your actual portfolio. I mean, did you make it your own? That's what I would say. Like if you can go back, like if you can like Google the code and it pulls up the tutorials, like you probably like need to go back and like think about what you can do to make it more your own. I mean, that's those resources are great for teaching you how things work. And I think that the greatest thing that you can do for yourself is like then take that and take it. Don't delete it. Like leave it on your GitHub. You did the work. Like leave it there.
Right.
But open another repo and then try to build it and like try to understand like what. And when you get stuck, go back and look at the old one and figure out like, well, how did we do it on this one? And then like go back to your repo and don't copy it word for word, but just like, you know, try to figure it out and read the docs and like get in there, because like part of that is like what you will be doing at your job, right? Like many days I wake up and I go, this isn't working. I don't know why it's not working. I'm going to go read some docs and try to figure it out. Or like, you know, like just, it's just part of it. And so I think that, can you put that stuff on your portfolio? I mean, you can. I think it would look a lot better though. Like if you found a way to make those code along projects your own, and like then it's going to be like your project. Then it's not something you did on a code along. It's just something that you built.
Yeah, for sure. I think that goes back to, I forget which one of y'all were saying about the imposter syndrome. I think pretty much everyone I talked to has gone through this, like kind of back and forth. Like, is this really, you know, am I doing this or am I just, you know, an imposter or whatever? But I've seen people with like 20 plus years on LinkedIn saying the same kind of thing and be like, look, I've gone through the same deal. So, I mean, like, just like you said, is exactly right. Jonathan, it's just about 8 o'clock. Do we want to still go ahead and knock out these last 3 questions that are on Slido, or?
Oh yeah, you can keep asking the questions. I think we're doing well.
Okay. Joe, for someone who is a visual design background, for someone with a visual design background, what is a good area of development to learn that crosses over into coding?
All right, and I'm going to phone a friend on this if Nathan or Summer, you have input, but I'll just quickly say, yeah, I think that would translate the easiest if you're in app design or you're just focusing in web design on like HTML and CSS, just the way that things look. But I would suggest giving other things a shot, because I initially thought, hey, if I could just master HTML, CSS, because this programming side is confusing, I'll be okay. But as I got more into JavaScript, I was like, I really like this. And same with backend, you may enjoy that as well. So, you know, I would encourage you to just kind of, whether it's watch videos or just dabble a little bit here and there, because you may wind up liking some other area more than just the front end.
I do have something to add on that concerning designers. Designers and software developers are two separate fields. I am not a designer, and I know that. You do not want me designing your front end, as in, like, you look at LinkedIn, you looked at Facebook, you look at any page and how it's laid out. That's what a designer does. Like the font choice, the weight, the colors, the padding, all of that. You do not want me doing that. I know, right? So jokes aside, being a designer, if it's not making you happy, absolutely start picking up I would just say, because React's on fire, you're hearing it a lot tonight, go start figuring out React. But it really specifically, it's teaching you, how do I use HTML, CSS, like the stuff I'm designing in Figma, how do I get it to look like that in code? And just start stumbling a lot. Like if you know you do not like being a designer and you want to write code, that's it. But I'd also ask too, it's why do you want to jump if you're already a designer? That's all I'm asking. I'm done.
Nathan, did you want to add to that, or you good?
No, I think that hits. I mean, like the opposite side of it, like if you were like totally on the programming side of it and you're like, I don't know what to do with this design stuff, do what I do and just find something on the internet that looks cool and then try to make your stuff look like that. So
Yep.
It's I mean, that's what you're going to do in your day job. Probably like you're going to have designers that are going to be putting stuff in Figma that you're going to be trying to make look like that anyway. So it's
Right.
kind of the same thing. May as well just try to do that.
Yep.
Let's see. Summer, if you could go back to when you first started learning software, is there anything you would change? Is there anything you're glad you did while learning?
Right. I go back and forth on this, and I'm not just saying this because I'm in a meeting with a boot camp. I honestly wonder if a boot camp would have done me better than comp sci, and here's why. The comp sci degree is going to teach you the theory, the algorithms, the data structures, the how do you reverse binary search trees and all that stuff. But it's a lot of it's very airy. In the instant, and I can admit this is fine. The instant you start writing an algorithm with those Greek symbols, like it just goes over my head. Okay. I am definitely more of a give me the software, I will make it work. And if I need to learn how to reverse a binary search tree and there's an applicable reason for it, I will go learn that, right? Especially if one of these days I want to get into a company that has they ask you these interview questions, then I'm going to need to remember how to do that, right? But there is some part of me that it's done. The student debt has been paid off. It's done and over with. But there's some part of me. It's like if I could have done like a 2-year tech college, learn the C# MVC or the Java applets, whatever was popular 10 years ago, would that have done me better than the comp sci? Just because there's a lot of stuff in comp sci that I didn't get, I don't use at my day job, right? So yeah, but it's done. But I do wonder about that.
Let's see, Joe, how much data structures and algo did you study, and is it necessary for a front end position?
So in terms of studying, it was purely for preparing for interviews, because that's what I was seeing everywhere. But I'll tell you on the other side, like you're not, at least the places I've worked, I'm not doing data structures or working on algorithms all day. Like that's not accurate for a front end position. So for one piece of advice I would give is try to find out as much as you can about the interview beforehand, if possible, asking the recruiter if they know what kind of interview it is, or if you have access to whoever will be interviewing you. If you can ask those questions, ask them, because I was lucky and fortunate to be sent that ahead of time, so I knew what to expect on the role that I ended up getting. So yeah, that's what I would say. Try to learn what kind of interview you'll be doing. You can also see on Glassdoor, people kind of put what kind of interview it is. And then, yeah, if it sounds like it's going to be algorithm heavy, then you know where you'll be spending your time for that interview.
And I will add this, is that always know that because take a step back, developers sometimes don't know how to interview. I said it. Okay. It is a learned skill. You don't just become an interviewer. Okay. Like some people don't even know how to ask. That being said, always know that if your interview that you are sitting in gets hostile or nasty, or is asking you stuff that you're out of your depth, just get up and say, hey, thank you for your time. I am not a good fit for this position. I hope you find someone who can answer these questions, and I'm going to go somewhere else. Always know that any interview, you can fail. Like there are so many stories, and I know it's been said, I think Google comes to mind, is that there's a guy who wrote a package that Google is actively using to this day, and Google failed him on the interviews, right? So just like I said earlier, sometimes developers don't know how to interview, also means companies don't know how to interview. Just saying, like, seriously, if it gets hostile, like, just get up and leave. Like, just because that interviewer was hazed once at some company does not mean they can keep hazing other people because they're traumatized. It's not right.
I'll say, I
Go ahead.
didn't use any data. I didn't know data structures or algorithms until I started to like prepare for my interviews. Like that,
Yeah.
we didn't touch that
Yeah.
stuff in my boot camp.
Yeah.
I didn't touch it before then. and I don't use it in my day job. I
Right.
mean, like, I used it when I did the Advent of Code challenge. Like that's when I use my binary tree knowledge. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, maybe it'll come in handy at some point, maybe in an interview down the road, but
Right.
like so far it hasn't shown its head.
Right.
That brings up a good points. If I can interject my own question, I just
Mhm.
thought of how often, and this could be for any of the three of you or all three of you, how often do y'all see where questions are asked in these interviews from companies and then not really on stuff that you end up using in the day-to-day job performance?
Someone else go. I'm remembering a story that I'll have to tell. Go ahead. Someone else go.
Yeah, so for me, and Austin mentioned failing a bunch of interviews. I had a whole summer of failures, and these were for React positions, but I was being asked these algorithm questions, computer science kind of related questions, and it was very frustrating because I was just like, I wish I can show the React code that I can write, so you could see I could do this job. So it was always a disconnect for me. So now I do a lot of interviews from the other side, and that's very, very prevalent for me, that let's ask some questions that's actually, accurate for what they're going to be doing, things that we actually work with. I don't see a reason for us to pull these algorithm questions if that's not going to show us that they can actually work in our code base. So it does happen, at least with people I'm talking to. It seems like people are trying to shift away from that, having those just nothing but data science questions. But yeah, it's still out there.
Yeah, the story I wanted to tell of, because the wave of reckoning is coming, because a lot of developers are truly realizing the same thing, that unless you're working for big data, or unless you're working for like some top 5 company in a really highly technical, highly theoretical area of research, it is if statements and while loops and for loops, and the damn CSS div box doesn't work. Okay, that's all we do, right? So the story that I have is, I was talking to a developer. He's got more years on his belt than I do. He's got like 17 years of experience. He was doing his round of interviews. He interviewed at 3 or 4 different places. He actually got a job offer for one place, but didn't choose to work there because the interview questions that they were asking him were very like stump the dummy hostile. So always know too that interviews go both ways, where if you are interviewing me and you're being a jerk, I'm not gonna work here, dude. Like you're a bleep hole. Bye. I'm gonna go work for your competitor. Bye. Because I know you're not doing it. You're just asking me because you think you can and you have the answer right there. That's why you know it. Like, no, I'm not doing it. Bye. Okay, I'm done. I love that friend of mine. He's like, yeah, I wasn't gonna work there because like asking me these really dumb questions and I passed, but I was like, that's such a bad taste in my mouth. I don't want to work with them.
I love
Somewhere
it.
else.
Flip the script on them. Like, I mean, like you can see it as like you failed the interview, or it could be like, I don't want to work with them anyway. It's like, who would want it? Yeah. I have like such a limited like scope on this question. I know that my companies that I ended up with, like their interview process is super focused on your portfolio. And so like we go through the candidates' portfolios with them and like pick them apart and ask them all the questions and make sure they actually understand what's going on with what they did. And so I mean, like that's what my interview was like with them. And it was great. They asked me a question about like some future added possibilities to like one of my projects. And I was like, I don't know how I would do that. But the neat thing about it is like developers always want to tell you how they would do it. So you can just be like, oh, that's what I did. And so I asked he's a friend now, but I asked him at the time, I was like, Vincent, how would you do that? And he told me, and I was writing it down. And so, I mean, like it was not a fail. Like it was just another point that like they could see. I mean, that's just, they knew what it would be like to work with me, like in my day to day, like if I don't know how to do something and I can just ask them, be like, hey, how would you do this?
Right.
So,
yeah.
Awesome. And then the last question we have on Slido, and I guess we again kind of just open up to to all three of you to answer whenever you would like. But is there a website you use to practice and apply the coding technique you've learned from boot camps?
No, I just build things. I don't really have a website that I go to practice with. Like right now, I'm just building. There's like a side project that I wanted to start working on. So I'm using that to like expand my skills. Like I haven't really used Material UI, so I said like I'm going to try to use that on this project, and that's what I'm using to keep flexing my skills, I guess.
Yeah, not a like complete resource like you're asking. If you are a front-end developer dealing with anything in the JavaScript, Angular, React, TypeScript, buy yourself a Christmas gift. Ask a friend to buy you the Christmas gift. A subscription to Front-End Masters is a online resource where they have people like Mike North, who works at Facebook he works at Microsoft for TypeScript. There's people in there who work for YouTube, and they are amazing, and they will definitely sharpen your skills, like the most important. And I can write in the chat room as well, but buy a subscription to or just try a month and see if you like it. But Front-End Masters is what I really use to transition from like C# Java to React and TypeScript. I made that transition about 3 years ago because I was bored with C#. So I'll get a link for that. Oh, someone already posted the link. Yeah, Front-End Masters. Oh yeah, Jonathan knows about Front-End Masters. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, +1 to Front-End Masters.
Yeah.
And then, like Jonathan said, hashtag build stuff. I think that's where your best practice is going to come from with what you learn in boot camp. If there's some site you wanted to build, or like if you want to find something open source, like in October, there's a Hacktoberfest every year, which is great because there's open source projects everywhere that are easy for beginners to jump into. But yeah, that's where the best learning is going to come from, building. When you get stuck, Googling, because that's what we do every day. Stack Overflow, talking to people, trying to learn from your peers, and that's where that network comes back in. So you have more people that you can actually reach out to when you're stuck. Yeah, that's where the learning will happen.
Mm-hmm. And I will say personally, the best way I learned anything, like that feeling you get when you go from like, wow, I just like gained a level, is sitting down and like picking the brain of a senior engineer. A lot of senior engineers do get the reputation that they're bitter and they're mean. Find a nice one. They should not be that way. Like they're just jaded. But like buy them like lunch and just ask them stuff. Like every time I have a senior developer yell at me for something, that's what I like. I immediately get like a level up. I hear the ding. Oh, I understand that now. Okay, cool. Cool.
Yeah, and I'll say to that point, there's several people in the Discord who are part of the part of the Free Code Camp Dallas community who are very open, very willing, and will get back to you pretty short notice.
Right.
If you ever have any questions or want to pick their brain and stuff like that. Lots of great people on there that'll do that. At this point, we're going to go ahead and open it up live questions. If anyone would like to unmute themselves and ask a question to our panel, that'd be great.
I have a question. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Alexis. I'm in a 7-month, I guess kind of like boot camp where I earned 7 certifications. I just earned my first certification at the beginning of December.
Congrats.
But I was wondering, thank you. It's a Microsoft security one.
Nice.
So I'm thinking if I was interested in doing software, what kind of certifications would I need to do to like transition into software?
So repeating back to you, you are slated for the next 6 months to do, it sounds like a bunch of certifications for Microsoft technologies, not necessarily coding.
It's not just Microsoft. They have some like network, they have like A+.
Right.
So they had a variety of different ones. Security was just the first one that we did.
Yeah. Are you actually coding on any of these? Is coding in the syllabus at all?
No, I don't think so.
Is it too late to ask for a refund?
Probably.
Okay. Yeah, because what you're describing and what we all do is absolutely very different. It may be, then there's nothing wrong with this, especially as everyone said in this room is demonstrated. There's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I want to do 5 to 10 years of all of using these certs that I learned and then maybe going back to code. That way, so it's not a complete wash. It's just unfortunate that it's like, oh, I just realized I'd rather write code than do this. So like you're in a tough position. I'm not gonna avoid that. Definitely. Do you know if you like writing code, first off?
I honestly don't know. I'm very, very new to the whole tech
Right.
field in general, so I really
Okay.
don't know.
Okay. See if you like making something. I always like telling people, it's like try to make either like a calculator or make a website about your favorite food, favorite movie, something really simple, because that's going to put you down the path of doing what we all do every day, which is I have a problem. Okay, I have to, this is a big problem. I need to break it down. Okay, I need to go to I need to start Googling stuff because the CSS is broken. I don't even know what CSS is. Let me go figure that out.
Okay.
Yeah, ask lots of questions and make mistakes and get messy, to quote Miss Frizzle. But yeah, welcome to the world of code. If you like it, then yeah. Are you already in the Discord?
No.
Okay, yeah, join the Discord because we can definitely help you with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And anyone else can answer that as well.
I just, Alexa, I dropped a link for the first course that I took whenever I was like seriously considering doing a switch. And Colt Steele is like, he does a great job with his videos. Like they're super solid. So that's what hooked me. Like I knew after doing that for a couple of nights, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna keep going down this rabbit hole. So just I think if you're interested, check it out and see what you think.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, Nathan, I'm looking at this. This is awesome. This is much better than what I said. Fantastic.
Yeah, same. I did a combination of Cold Steele's web development bootcamp and the free code camp curriculum. Have you looked at free code camps yet?
I haven't. This was just kind of my way in. Like I'm like super transitioning. I worked in like grocery retail before, so this is just kind of like my way in. My uncle works in tech, so he was just kind of like, this is what he found when he was like looking for boot camps and stuff for me to try. So this is just the kind of the first thing we tried. So like I said, I committed to 7 months of it. So
Okay. So yeah, that link that Jonathan just shared, free code camp starts out super basic, just getting basically showing you how to put one thing on the screen.
okay.
So that will be a great resource to kind of see what coding is and how to do it.
Awesome, thank you.
Mhm.
And that Cold Steel is, yeah, somebody said it, like he updates it very, very often. So like it's up to date. Like, and that's kind of a tricky thing. A lot of resources you'll find online, it'll be like 3 years old and we don't do things that way anymore. So just know like he does a really great job of keeping it up to date.
Hey, I have a question. Can I ask my question? I don't know if y'all can hear me. Okay. So you all mentioned like, so what I was confused about was, once you go through the boot camp, I think Joe, you have said you kind of just start building. So I guess what I'm confused about, so is there like a platform where you start building? I mean, I don't really understand, like, when you say like you just start building, just kind of out of scratch, like, can you kind of clarify?
Yeah, so I guess first I'll ask, have you done any HTML or is this like the very beginning for you?
Very beginning.
Okay, gotcha. So one of the common websites, Jonathan, if you have the CodePen link, if you could share that. CodePen is a site where you can practice writing code, and basically whatever page you build is going to be hosted on our website. So that's a good like playground for you to just practice building, and you can showcase everything that you've built. And then once you learn how to work locally, like you're going to learn, like you say, from scratch. Yes, how to build from scratch. You need what's called an IDE, which is where you're going to actually write your code. And while you're writing your code, you can have like Google Chrome open, and you can see in real time what you're actually building. So then you'll learn about GitHub, which is where you push your code so that, you know, other people will be able to see it. So yeah, you'll be working on your computer, writing code in something like Visual Studio Code. You'll be able to see it locally, push it up, and be able to share it. So yeah, if you have any more questions about that, yeah, just reach out. We can dive deeper if needed.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a really good question to ask of like, how do I get into it? And you forget that, oh yeah, someone explained this to me, like what an IDE was, or how do I write anything and get it hosted? Like that's very well put, Joe. Very well put. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. Very good question.
Yeah, I'm close to it. Like I will say, like I didn't understand GitHub for the longest. It was like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
Yeah.
like, but it's so useful once you do understand it. So if you got questions about stuff like that, just reach out and ask. Like I know, like if you want to get out to me, like bring it on. Like I'll help you. Like what
Yeah.
that stuff is kind of confusing in the beginning, but once you get used to it, you'll find your flow with it, and it's you'll see how valuable those tools are.
I'm gonna throw the links in there again really quick, and then we can open it back up for any other questions. But the first 3 links are just the Discord, LinkedIn, and Facebook for Free Code Camp. I think most of these people are in the groups, so if you post something in the Discord, especially, somebody's going to respond. And then while I am talking, if I can get this link to copy, then this is our meetup for next month, which will be similar to today's, except for we also will be presenting our cohorts. We have cohorts that are happening every month and a half, and you can hop on a team and build a project together with other people. So you're getting to practice like working on a team, working with GitHub. You have projects you can put on your resume and stuff. It's pretty neat. So, but anyway, yeah. So, all right, cool. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to unmute and ask away.
So, Joe, how many years have you been at USAA now?
Yeah, so I started August 2018. So yeah, about 3.5 years, going on 4. Oh wow. Yeah, cut the recording on that one.
Oh, my bad. That's amazing.
No, I'm talking about Jonathan in the chat. But yeah, about 4 years. Time has flown.
Joe, what about everyone else on the panel? Like, how long have y'all been at your current positions, and what has it been like, being there or working there?
So I've been at Differential. It's actually I don't know what the word for it is. We basically are taking on, I don't know, there's a special word for it. I'll remember in a second. But so we have clients that we do like 6-month work projects with them. And right now I'm working on a iOS and Android platform. We're working on an app that is React Native primarily, with a lot of JavaScript on the back end. So we're doing that. I'm building out church apps basically, and it's great. It's a small team. There's eight people on the team right now. I had design agency. I'm gonna pull. Yeah, it's an design agency. That's the word I was thinking.
Digital agency, maybe.
Digital agency. Yeah, that's it. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate
Boom.
it. So
we
yeah,
do a lot of the same work.
Yeah, it's.
Nice.
I mean, I have the ability to switch teams to different projects if I want to. Like we've got one of our clients is Procter and Gamble. Another one's Lexmark. So like we've got some pretty high profile companies that come to us for work. And I mean, I'm just learning more. We do shape up process. So I had to learn a lot about that, which has been great. And I mean, coming from like the education world where we don't have anything like that that correlates. So it's been neat, like seeing the full design process. And I think eventually it'll probably, if I stick around long enough, I'll end up being like product lead on some stuff out there, and just work my way up the chain. But it's great. It's a small team and great atmosphere.
This is unrelated, but Summer just messaged me and said her internet died. So, rip.
No.
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to say that I've really enjoyed this meetup. I mean, I enjoy all of our meetups, but this one in particular, I love the panel discussion idea. Scott, you've done a great job moderating. So really great job, everybody. Good answers. Really enjoyed it.
Agree. It was actually Joe's idea. So, and then I hijacked it.
Genius idea.
Yeah. He's smart, man.
Yeah, I was asked to prepare a talk during the holidays. I was like, not about to prepare a tech talk, but I can answer some questions. So yeah, that's kind of how it came about.
Cool. Well, anybody got any more questions or anything, or? Cool. All right. Yeah, I agree with Steve. I had a really good time listening to the discussion, getting to see some of my favorite people. So anyway, and Scott, you did a great job moderating. Appreciate that. Stepping up. Scott is not yet in the field, but he's planning on being there soon. So, if anybody wants to help him out, he's there. So anyway, hope to see lots of y'all in the Discord and stuff, and at our meetup next month with Austin moderating. He's a fun moderator. So see, he laughs a lot. It's enjoyable.
Thanks, man. I've been caught. No. All right.
All right, guys. Like I said, I'm going to post this video into our YouTube channel when we have one. So I will, I'll let you know. I'll put a link somewhere in the Discord and probably in our meetups. Thanks again, Nathan and Joe and Summer, who's not here, for coming out and talking. Appreciate it.
Yeah, enjoyed it. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Are we
man.
leaving? Can we do? Is this open talk time now? Is the recording?
If you want to.
Yo, can I just talk to all